Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm Andy Bernstein, your host, bringing you episode 3 of our Restarting the Clock series. This episode is titled Coaching in a Bubble. As most of you know, both the NBA and WNBA are restarting their seasons in bubble campuses in Florida. The NBA at the Wide World of Sports complex inside Disney World in Orlando, and the WNBA about 100 miles west at the IMG Academy in Bradenton. We're really fortunate to have head coaches from each league on this episode. From the WNBA, we had a great conversation with 5-time NBA champion and current head coach of the Los Angeles Sparks, Derek Fisher. I've known Derek since his rookie year, went through all 5 championships with him and Kobe and all the guys at the Lakers, and we have a lot to talk about, and it was great catching up with Derek. Thank you to Derek for coming back on the Legends of Sport podcast. On the NBA side is our second guest, Mike D'Antoni, head coach of the Houston Rockets. Mike is a longtime successful coach in the NBA and was a legendary player and coach in Italy. He was also an assistant coach under Coach K for USA Basketball's gold medal runs in 2008 and 2012. So thanks to both of these great friends and head coaches for taking time out of their schedules to talk to us. Lots of great topics. So let's get going first with Derek Fisher, followed by my conversation with Mike D'Antoni. Hope you enjoy this episode. And as always, I'll see you on the backside. So welcome, everybody, to the Legends of Sport podcast. This is episode 3 of Restarting the Clock, and I am thrilled to have a couple of great guests today. My first guest, good friend, known this guy his whole professional career, the head coach of the Los Angeles Sparks, Derek Fisher. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing really well, Andy. I'm safe and healthy, man. Thankful, so appreciate you having me.
Thank you, D. Hey, how's the team doing? How are things going? I know you're missing 2 of your key players who opted out, Kristi Toliver and Chiney Ogwumike. So how has that been going for you with the adjustment?
Yeah, no, I think overall our team is doing well. This is an adjustment for everyone involved here, but I have to give our players a ton of credit. You know, they are remaining, positive, focused. We're trying to really make sure that we don't run them in the ground too much to start out because they weren't able to train and prepare themselves in a normal way. But, we were able to pick up a couple of I don't want to call them replacement players, but players that were available to us when Kristi and Chiney opted out, Taya Cooper and Rashonda Gray, that have been great with our group. So we're excited. This is not an easy set of circumstances, but we represent something bigger than us, and these women represent so much more. And so we're going to do our best.
Yeah. Let's talk about that in a sec. But I'm fascinated by the fact that the difference between the NBA bubble and the WNBA bubble, most distinctly, is that the women players, the WNBA players who are moms, are able to bring their kids. Right. So I read something really great yesterday that Candace talked very eloquently about how important that was to her to have her daughter with her. How many players on the Sparks are moms? I'm not really familiar with that.
Yeah, Candace is the only mom on our team this season. We had Elena Beard last season, and she was a new mom, towards the halfway point of the season. But Candace is the only mom on our team, and I think league-wide, there's not a large number, but obviously still very important to make sure that every support possible that can be provided for them, that they have it. They shouldn't have to choose between professional success and motherhood.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's got to be hard for you to be away from your family for this period of time. That's the biggest thing. Well, the second biggest thing that's really bugging me about going down to the NBA bubble. First is getting there, on a commercial airline, and the second is being gone. I could be gone 7 weeks if that whole thing goes, the full, through the playoffs and finals. So yeah. The big adjustment. I don't think either of us really probably been away except for college.
Not, like you said, 2 and 3 months at a time.
Yeah.
It's not something that we're accustomed to, but, we're thankful to have, a job and a profession and something that you love to do.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there that don't. And so I'm trying, it's mixed emotions because I definitely miss the family. There's a lot going on that we still have to talk about in this country and around the world. COVID is real. Like that is impacting so many of us, and so there's a lot happening, but we have to try and channel that energy in the right places.
Right,
And,
right.
sometimes working hard at what you do is a way to channel that energy sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about that. The Sparks organization and your players, deeply committed to using their platforms to give a voice to social justice, and as well as voting, education, immigration reform. The team's message this year is change has no off season. So how are you personally getting that word out, like on your social media platforms, but also working with the team, with your players, your organization? How are you doing that?
Yeah, no, this organization to me has always represented a level of diversity and inclusion in everything that they've done,
Mhm.
which is one of the reasons why I was honored to accept the job here.
Mhm.
I think timing wise, in terms of the initiatives that we're working through now, for me, it's really about supporting our players and amplifying their platforms.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's by me doing more on my platform to share what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, but then it's also, I have to grow in terms of doing more on my platform to point to what they are doing and what
Mhm.
our organization is doing. So I'm challenging myself in that way because the initiatives that our organization we're involved in are important. Recently, all of the LA sports teams formed an alliance,
Mhm. Yeah.
and all 11 professional sports teams in the LA area
Mhm.
are going to continue to do things in the community. But voter registration, immigration, women's rights, supporting the LGBTQ community, and some of the way that they are underserved
Mhm.
and underrepresented. These are all important conversations, and a lot of our players are at the forefront of them,
Mhm.
and we have to support them in every way possible.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the alliance because I tuned into the press conference the other day, and if people don't know, the alliance is a group of the 11 professional sports teams. I didn't even know there were 11 professional sports teams in LA, but across the board, all the different sports, they had representatives on, and the Sparks were really prominent in there. I mean, in fact, kind of led the conversation as I remember it. And what a gift to the city of LA that all 11 teams are bound together, are committed, right? I mean, it's an amazing thing. I think it's unprecedented in any city,
Yeah,
at least the size of LA. And I think it's going to be an example for other big cities to do the same thing.
yeah, I hope so, and we hope so. I believe that I think our ownership group, led by Eric Holloman, our president and COO, Danita Johnson,
Hmm.
uh, these things matter to them,
Yeah.
and so what we say, we really are trying to live out through action and supporting the right programs and organizations,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully so. Like you said, other big cities. I believe that's, if there is any ounce of positivity that can come from what we've been forced to deal with COVID-19, is that it has evened this idea that we're somehow better than one another, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that this has really forced us to all look each other in the eye and realize that we actually are bound together as a
Hmm.
community and as people. And so I think the Alliance kind of can be a symbol of that, and hopefully can do some great things in LA for a long time.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you have two teams in different sports. The hockey, baseball, football, basketball. And they're all bitter rivals. They're all struggling, with each other to get the airtime and the sponsor dollars and the fan
Yeah,
support. But yet, they can get together and have a common goal, which is bigger, like you said earlier. It's bigger than the sport. It's bigger than the team. It's really, it's about what's going on in this world and in our city, in our country. And I'm excited about it. I think that's a great initiative that was started. I don't know who started the alliance, quite frankly, but whoever did, that was a great idea.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
There's always probably an idea, and people, continue to get together.
yeah,
I know the sports teams were thinking about, because typically everybody starts to do something on their own.
yeah, right.
And so, it's good to see that people were able to come together
Yeah.
And like you said, hopefully some great things ahead.
Yeah. So D Fish, you are one of the few former NBA players and coaches who are now coaching or have coached in the WNBA. There's only like a handful of people who have done that. So what did you bring from the NBA to the WNBA, both as a player and as a coach? Like, is there a different coaching style, the same coaching styles you had in the NBA? You know, you're one of the toughest guys that I knew in the NBA game. And your team represents that. I mean, from what I saw last year, I'm sure you're doing it to this year. How do you see your role in all that?
Yeah, no, I think that my experiences in the NBA, I think more than anything, what I'm trying to bring, um, and I think will always be, is just a workman-like attitude,
Mm-hmm.
an approach to your profession. That one of our assistant coaches, he sent us a picture the other day, and it was of a bracelet, that you can, like a rubber bracelet you can wear around your wrist,
Yeah.
and it said "work like a walk-on." Right, and everybody knows the story of like the famous walk-ons that went on to
Sure.
maybe the team, or they got in the game one time and the fans went crazy when they made a basket,
Yeah.
and that was always my attitude when I played.
Mm-hmm.
That's my attitude as a coach. And so the expectation level for players that I coach, they have to meet that standard. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for us to really achieve our goals and objectives. And so that's really one thing I'm trying to bring. But I think for women players, it's been harder to access that because of the year-round nature that they're forced to play in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you go from, fall and winter and early spring in Europe and Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as you touch down in the United States, you go into your WNBA season.
Right.
And then as soon as you finish your WNBA season, you go back to Europe and play another season. And they never really get a chance to think about themselves, right? And there's a level of self-care involved to being great and excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And so many WNBA players have never had that time to think of self and what about me? What do I need to do to be the best version of me? And so I'm trying to help players get in touch with that part of themselves, right? That like, I have to be intentional about, what I've seen Kobe Bryant accomplish, what I've seen, what I watch Giannis do, what I see the great players doing in the NBA. Like if I want to represent that for women, like let's have a conversation about the way those guys went about it. And then when you start putting the work in like that, the results will come.
Yeah, it's so interesting you brought that up, Dee, because I had Shanae on the podcast earlier this season, and she was talking about the new CBA and the fact that now finally they don't have to go year round financially. Women players were making more money overseas than they were in the WNBA for years, right?
Yes.
So it was just a financial decision. I'm sure they didn't want to be playing 12 months a year. No, as much as you guys love the game, but I love being around the game. I need a break too,
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's a big plus going into this year for them. And I think that's fantastic. And she was very, very eloquent about it and was part of it, being on the executive committee with her sister and your other player, Nneka, being the president.
Yes,
so,
Shanae's brilliant. We miss her energy.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get a chance to see her soon.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you brought up Kobe, and I wanted to obviously talk about his passion for women's basketball. We all know about it. We all know how he advocated for women's basketball on every level, from Gigi's age, through high school, college, pro. Did you guys ever talk about it, you and him, you and Kobe together?
Not specifically the WNBA, but specifically our daughters, right? And what life is like raising daughters. Those were conversations that we had for years. The amount of time that we spoke, honestly, like our relationship evolved from like the 8 years that we played together. There was one form of the relationship. And then the 3 years that we were apart, 2 years I was in Golden State, 1 in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Our relationship evolved from teammates, basketball, how do we win, what's the next game, etc., to like fatherhood, raising kids,
Yeah.
How are you doing? And so we spent a lot of time just talking about life from that perspective.
Yeah.
And so I had no idea that the way he would impact the women's game, years later, I didn't see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he was very clear about, his love for his daughters and wanting to create a better world for them.
Yeah.
But I think once Gigi kind of became a monster on the court, he was like, all right, well, that's where I want her to be, 8, 9, 10 years from now. So let me get to work now to make sure that that's where it needs to be by the time she gets there. He wasn't trying to have his daughter playing for 50 grand.
Yeah, right. and knowing him as well as we both did, he wasn't going to go halfway on anything. I mean, he was going to go all in and then some, which he did, right? And also knowing him as well as we did, Ed, how much we both loved him, I could just imagine what was going through his mind that one day maybe his buddy D Fish would be coaching Gigi at the WNBA. How cool would that have been, right?
Oh, man. I don't know. It would have been cool sometimes, and then other times my phone would have been ringing. Saying, why I didn't run that play for Gigi?
No, he wasn't such a micromanager, was he? He wasn't like that, was he?
No, he would have left me alone. As long as we were winning, he would have left me alone.
Oh my goodness, man. Well, listen, D Fish, I wish you the best, man. I wish I was down there covering you guys too, and it was a normal year. We didn't have this crazy pandemic, and I'd be seeing you at Staples, maybe tonight because the season would be, in full swing. But we're dealing with the hand that we're dealt, right? And I wish you guys all the best. Please say hi to everybody in the organization for me, and bring one home, okay? I mean, we can use another banner there at Staples Center.
Will do, man. We want to be, trust me, we want to be the first team in LA to bring another banner in some years. Yeah. And then we'll see if any other LA teams are able to follow.
There you go. There you go.
Obviously is my choice.
Well, thanks for coming on, Derek. And we're going to come back with Coach Mike D'Antoni after this break. Take care, my friend.
Appreciate it, Andy.
Welcome, my good friend Mike D'Antoni, head coach of the Houston Rockets, to the Legends of Sport podcast. Coach, how you doing, man? How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks, Andy. Thank you.
Yeah. I know it's a crazy question, but how's things in the bubble? How's it going for you?
It's great in the sense that we're back in kind of getting to a new normal. But if anybody's spent a lot of time with USA Basketball, or I was overseas, and this is not unusual to be having a meal room, seeing your players, going to practice, coming back, waiting for games. First 2 or 3 weeks, or with practice every day, it gets a little long. But then once we start playing and every other day, and competition and trying to prepare for the next game, it's without any distractions, without anybody pulling on you. It's like basketball, eating, sleeping, basketball. And so if you love basketball, it's great.
Yeah. Coach, this is such a new territory for everybody. What about chemistry, just in general, like an NBA team literally living together for months at a time? You guys are together all the time, basically 9 months, but guys go home and they have their personal family stuff and whatever. I mean, and you're only there now for what, a week or 2 weeks, I guess, right? But how do you see that going as the summer progresses here and the team keeps going in towards the playoffs?
Well, I don't think obviously some guys are going to react differently. But I think if you have pretty good chemistry, and then it becomes like a fraternity house, where everybody's kind of on the same page and doing without the bars and the partying. But it's sitting around swapping stories, and if you have a fairly good chemistry anyway, it'll make you that closer. It's obviously a shared experience that no one will forget about. and it's something that you did with your teammates. So it's could be special, and I'm open for that. And I think it's whatever the player, or the coach makes it, make it special, or make it bad. So it's up to him.
Yeah, it's just such a uncharted waters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your two top players, by the time we air this, they'll probably both be on the court at that time, right? James arrived, and
Hope so.
hopefully Russell will be out there. It was something I read in Hoops Habit that they said that that they felt the hiatus caused by the pandemic may actually help your team, help the Rockets. Do you have any take on that? Does that matter to you or not?
Well, I hope. I don't put a lot of credence in what somebody reports, but nothing personal. But
right,
no one knows. Like you said, it's uncharted waters. So we'll see. It's I'll try to spin it to where this will be good. We have another mini training camp. We get guys that were a little tired, rested. We get over our nicks and bruises, but so does everybody else. So to me, at the end of the day, it's going to be really good competition where no distractions on the floor, and let's go at it. And the better team will win, and we hope we're one of those better teams.
So, Mike, a lot was made about the concern about you and some of the other coaches that are a little older, right? Being there, health concerns, whatever. How did you deal with that? Did that even cross your mind? I mean, knowing you were all in from the beginning, but it's something obviously to think about.
Well, other than you can think about it, but if you really think about it, one, it's a personal choice. I'll always keep a mask on. I'll stay 6 feet away from people, and anybody comes around me will have a mask on. So that really helps. I know the NBA is going to do everything they can to make it safe. We do test every day, so that helps.
Yeah.
Is it risk-free? Totally. No, it can't be. It's not possible. But I do feel very safe, and it's up to me to take the extra steps to wash my hands and keep a mask on and do what's right. And then, so I don't feel bad about it. Actually, I'm excited about coaching, excited about the team, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. So I think the other coaches feel the same way. I really do.
Yeah.
And thanks for everybody's concerns, but I think it's something that's necessary we need to do. And we have a big platform here, and hopefully we can use it to the best in social injustice, or whether wearing a mask or whatever it needs to be. We need to be, empathy and patriotism we need to have. And those are things that we're, not in a great place right now.
Right.
And we need those two things. So hopefully we can help. It's not going to change everybody, but we can help a little bit.
You touched on the social injustice, and I know you're very active with the NBA Coaches Association and their initiative. How quickly did the coaches meet and kind of unify and form the Racial Injustice and Reform Committee? Were you involved in that? I mean, I know you were as a coach, but were you involved in the actual formation of the committee?
No. This is mostly Lloyd Pierce from Atlanta who got it started. All the coaches joined in immediately. They got about 6 or 7 coaches, I think, on the panel that they're coming up with some great ideas. So we have a meeting tonight on it, and we'll see what we can do to help. I think, why wouldn't you help? Why wouldn't you try to make everything a little bit better and all kinds of form of injustices? Not only this, but this is our platform. This is what we're going to bang at. And again, it's a big issue. It's a big problem. And can we chip away at it? Can we, help 2 or 3 people see, be better informed or make better decisions? Sure. And if we can do that, then it's worth it. And I think in life, it's like that. When you give to charity, you give to cancer research. You're not going to cure cancer immediately, but you know what? You do what you can do. Yeah. And everybody a little bit, and we'll make a difference.
Is there anything specific that you want to talk about that the Rockets are doing in the Houston community, or anything, any initiative that you want to speak about?
Well, what we do is we have a very progressive city, and so Mayor Turner has taken the lead, and he's come up with a lot of reforms already. Our sheriff, our chief of police does a great job, and they can do better. and they will do better. But they have, I think, the ideas in place, and it's going to be a methodical march toward a better place. And so we're doing that, working with them and giving them our support. The ACLU, I really like what they do in our community, fighting for whether somebody is wrongly convicted or in jail wrongly or just social injustice. But also we'll go back as we go forward. I think we need a lot of programs in schools where we can get to the kids early and just educate them. They'll make their own decisions, but they need to have a base where they come from, where they're educated about what's happening, why it's happening, and what happened in the past, and see if we can make a better future.
And is there discussion amongst the team, about the coaches, players, staff, about this initiative, the social injustice, getting the word out? I know the NBA has been very much in the forefront of that, and the whole Black Lives Matter being on really at the forefront of what they're trying to get across, especially during this bubble situation. Do you guys as a group speak about it? Is it something that's just talked about amongst yourselves, but do you do it formally?
No, we've done that. We've done Zoom calls and talk about it, and we have some great leaders on the team. A lot of them are new to the city, so it takes a little bit for them to get ingrained. But Russell and James and PJ, and we'll add, do whatever they need to do. One thing I forgot, one initiative that we really want to get into is voting. Voting is whoever you vote for, but to get out and vote, you have a right, and it's more important now than ever. And we want to try to once this is over and get back, we will have part of October hopefully, and November off, to where we can be more active in turning out vote or just getting the word out, or hey, I'll drive a bus if I need to pick people up and go vote. We gotta get out, and that's a message that we want to hit loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be on that bus with you, my friend.
You know what? You should, and
sure.
Talk about patriotism a lot, and voting is a big step in that.
Yeah, for sure. So, Mike, I want to go back in time here because, we like to do on the Legends of Sport podcast to see how everybody got started, and our mutual history together, right? So I was going back in my mind of when I first saw you. I didn't get to really meet you then, but that was I believe it was the 87 McDonald's Open, it was called, right? In Milwaukee. You were playing for Tracer Milan, right?
Correct.
You and I both had some distinguished mustaches back in the day, right?
Yeah, I went through a few phases back then.
Right. Then I think the following year in '88 in Madrid, right? That you were in that as well, in that?
No, we weren't in that. No, just the 87.
87. Okay. Because I remember that. I have photos of that, which we'll add into this thing. All the time that I've known you, I've never asked you, how did that whole Italy thing come about? How did you end up? I mean, you're literally a rock star in Italy, and we'll talk about that in a second. But how did that happen in your life, Mike?
Well, I bounced around a little bit, played 2.5 years at Kansas City Omaha Kings, and then went over to the Spirits of St. Louis and finished out my third year. The league folds. I thought I was going to be in St. Louis a little while, starting, and things seemed to be pretty good. The league folds, and then I was picked up in the dispersal draft, if I'm not mistaken, by San Antonio, or I just went to San Antonio, whatever. They got my rights. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And I was with them up until about end of November, I think, or something like that. And I was let go, and I was kind of, oh boy, I'm 26. What am I going to do? Go back to school. I would like to play, and so this team from Italy kept calling throughout the springtime, and I really didn't have any desire to go to Italy. I wanted to stay in the United States, so I, whatever. Yeah. And they said, well, come over Easter and spend a week with us and see if you like it. If you like it, great. If you don't, then go back, and it's all good.
Yeah.
So I said, I have to spend a week in Italy. I've never been. And that's where, originally my grandfather was from. And I thought, great idea. So I go to Italy, played a few games with them. I'm so naive. I'm thinking I'm just playing. That I guess I was trying out for them. They said, would you like to play? I was, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Played with them.
Yeah.
and loved it. And they offered me a 2-year contract, and and I thought they're paying me about the same amount of money I'd make in the NBA at a minimum salary, same money.
Yeah.
Most of it would be tax free
Mm-hmm.
because I'd pay my Italian taxes, and you get a offset.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, 2 years in Europe, traveling around, and because they played everywhere. We played in every country almost. And I go, yeah, this will be great.
Yeah.
And so it started in 2 years. I thought for sure I'd come back after 2 years, but it turned into 21 years.
Wow. And how quickly did it take you to learn Italian? I know you're fluent in Italian.
I'm fluent with that West Virginia twang. So it's,
Right.
look at me like, how long have you been here? So some things you don't lose, but
Right.
toward the end of the first year, I was there about, I'd say 6 months. I started being able to understand conversation, just about basketball or whatever. Basketball I picked up first, and then conversations, and then I could watch TV, and then be able to feel really, I knew we took a trip somewhere like Russia or someplace where we played a game, and I felt coming back to Italy, coming back home.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the first time it ever hit me that I felt at ease there. And that was probably in my second year, about halfway through. It felt good.
That's awesome. So fast forward, it's 2006, and I'm assigned to go with the Phoenix Suns to Treviso, right? You guys had training camp there. You had a couple exhibition games, and I'm not exaggerating, and I know how modest you are, but it was literally like Elvis has returned to the building. I mean, it was, dude, they rolled out the red carpet. It was unbelievable. I mean,
most of those people I owe money to, that's why they.
But it was fun. What an experience that was. How was it for you on that trip in 2006?
Oh, it was fantastic. We've made 2 trips. I did with the Knicks once, and I did with the Suns. And Suns, we went to Treviso, where I spent 4 years.
Right.
We won a couple of Italian titles, and Mr. Benetton, who has since passed away, great, unbelievably great guy.
Yeah.
And he was our owner.
Uh-huh.
And all the way down, Maurizio Garadini was the general manager. That we spent so much. Giorgio Buzzavo, president. Just so many relationships. Yeah. And going back there was fun. And also to be able to, for my team, Nash and Barbosa, those guys to experience, Raja Bell to experience where I came from, Treviso.
Yeah.
And then we get over to Venice. Then we went down, I think from Treviso, we went to Rome and played a game.
Yeah, we did.
And then up to Germany and back home. But that was fantastic. And then later with the Knicks, we went to Milan. Where I spent 17 years in Milan. Yeah. And Milan was unbelievably special. I grew up as a person and culturally just expanded my horizons. We won a bunch of titles, and I would not change the experience that I had. I could have started in the NBA for 15 years, and I don't think I would swap out for what I did in Europe. Because off the court, it was just so meaningful to me. And I met my wife there. My son was born in Milan. I mean, just so many things that I'll never be able to repay the debt to them.
I didn't know that you met Laurel in Milan. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, she was modeling, and she knew she's from Seattle area. She went to the school at University of Washington. And Wally Walker, she knew Wally Walker's wife, and Wally was playing with me on the team Milan. So they just happened to meet, and she didn't know they were there on the streets of Milan. And we went out for pizza, and that was it. Got married about a year later. We were married. So
that's so cool. And Michael was born over there, you said, right?
Michael was, he was born in Milan, and then spent about 4 years in Treviso. And I wish he could have said a little bit. I wish he was born a little bit sooner so that his Italian would have been flawless. Yeah. But so be it.
Yeah. So when you were playing in Italy, did you play against Kobe's dad, Joe Jellybean Bryant? Yeah. You have any memories of Joe, or even like the super young Kobe in those days?
Well, the big thing about Joe was that, good player, very talented. He went about, I think I played against him about 2 different teams that he was on, 2 or 3 teams. And we tuned him up pretty good, but he was good. And then I do remember Kobe and Reggio Emilia, where at halftime, a lot of times they would come on the floor and the kids would just be shooting and we're coming on the floor afterwards. They go, come on, kid, get out of here. You know, and I knew who he was, but I think he was about 12 or 13 then, so didn't know it would turn into be Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
But those are the first memories, yes.
Yeah. So you get to coach Kobe later on, right? Obviously, you come to the Lakers. Did you guys talk about that? I mean, that must have been just a crazy full circle event for both of you.
Well, yeah,
know?
the first time I saw him, I was a coach at Denver.
Right.
I got over from Europe first time, and he came over and started speaking to me in Italian. I mean, his Italian was flawless and really good.
Yeah.
So that was the first time. Then every time he wanted to say something probably harsh, he would say it in Italian to me. So it was good.
That's funny. Hey, Mike, what did you bring from your experience as a player and coach in Italy to your coaching, the way you your style, your philosophy, the way you coach in the NBA? Is there something specific? Because you have a very specific style, you know, that run and gun style that you brought from one team to the next, that you're still doing in Houston, you know, with the two guns you have down there. Was there something that you brought from Italy into the NBA?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think every coach is probably a product of his experiences, whether as a player. You know, I played with Doug Moe. He was the coach of San Antonio. That we got up and down.
Yeah.
I played at Marshall University, which we got up and down. And we played a weird team. We had a 6'5" center that played outside. We had 5 guys that were all out, and we had like 6'11" shooting, you know, 4. So a little bit of that, a little bit of this. And then when I went to Italy and started coaching, it gave me a chance to, okay, I believe in this. Can I do this? And I was like everybody else. I started off traditionally, and then it wasn't working. And by my third year, I said, you know what? I moved my 3 to the 4 and 4 to the 5 and spread it out and shot threes. And we just took off.
Yeah.
And we won a couple titles that way. And it's like, you know, this is what I believe in. And then when I came back to the NBA, smart me, I'll go back traditionally, you know. But then we got the Phoenix, and with the help of the Colangelos and the team that we had at Nash, just felt like, hey, let's play this way. Mar, you go to the 5, Sean, you go to the 4, and let's see what we got. And it just exploded into something great.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely had the personnel for your style of play in Phoenix, man. Especially with Nash quarterbacking that team, right? I mean, you couldn't ask for a better point guard who was pass first but tough as nails like you. You know, did you see a little bit of yourself in him, in his demeanor? Come on, Mike. Seriously.
I think he's about 6'3". That's about it. But he. You know, it's funny because a lot of times ideas are good and you don't have the personnel to do them and you get killed and everybody says you're an idiot. So with Steve, he made it possible. And Amari and Sean and Joe Johnson, you know, and Quentin Richardson. Yeah. And they made it. We started off 31-4. So instead of being a laughing stock, everybody going, wow.
Yeah.
And without them doing this, then it would have just been, you know, oh, this idea is crazy and you know, get out of here and all that, but they made it work.
Wow. Well, listen, we got a lot more to talk about, man, but I know your time is valuable, and our whole mutual USA basketball experience was amazing. Could you just give me one thing about being on Coach K's staff for the 2 gold medals in 2008, 2012, what an experience that was for you?
Well, you know, first of all, just great camaraderie. Jerry Colangelo leading it, and Sean Ford, who organizes everything, and then you have the coaches, Nate McMillan, Jim Boeheim, myself, and Coach K. And just, first of all, just the group having so many dinners and talking basketball experiences. And I think every coach kind of has his philosophy of how to play. So what I learned mostly from Coach K was how he managed players and egos and how he put it together and how he made everybody feel part of the scheme of things. And he was great at that. And he understood when to practice and when not to practice, when not, you know, I think his favorite line is, you know, we want to be prepared but not over-prepared. And that's kind of the, you know, I took away that, and it works. Yeah. And he was great at that. And he just, you know, really driving home the point. It's a little bit we're playing for something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
You're playing for the front of the jersey, not the back of the jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to get that across. The NBA is a little tougher
Mm-hmm.
because there's contracts involved and everything else, and people, want to make their name. And when you're playing for USA, that's it. You're just trying for the country, and you're not trying to get a bigger contract. So a little different, but trying to go along those lines.
Yeah, I love that the thing that he used to say where he said, "We're not asking you to keep your egos at the door. We're asking you to bring your egos in, and to collectively make one giant ego, which is for the USA team and to win that gold medal, right?" Which was a great message to the guys, I thought. Yeah,
without a doubt. And you just don't want anybody just sit around and watch somebody else play. You just everybody in together and do what you do. And there was some great teams, obviously.
Yeah, it was a great run. I had a lot of fun with you guys, man, and being part of that. It was so much fun, great experience. Yeah. Well, Mike, I can't thank you enough, man. Thank you for taking the time. I know that you're busy and got practices to deal with. And
I'm about ready to run to practice, as a matter of fact, Danny. So
well, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks. I'll be down there so you can yell at me from the sideline with a mat.
It'll be fun.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, buddy. Take care.
All right. See you.
Bye. Well, big thanks to Coach Fisher and Coach D'Antoni for sharing their thoughts with us today. Two great friends, fierce competitors, and terrific head coaches. And I wish them both well as their teams progress in their respective bubbles. I hope you all enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Please continue to download the Legends of Sport podcast from the Los Angeles Times app and online. Also, you can find us on Apple and Spotify and all your favorite podcast platforms. Please also continue to follow us on social media. Our Instagram is @LegendsOfSport, Twitter @Legends_of_Sport. Our blog is legendsofsport.blog, and our TikTok and YouTube channels, Legends of Sport. Also, I want to announce that Art Fun Parties is hosting a contest to enter to win a virtual photo shoot experience with me. Details can be found at artfunparties.com. Thanks to my producer and researcher, Veronica Ahn, and thanks to everyone for listening. We'll be back next week with episode 4 of our Restarting the Clock series with another great guest. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and wear your mask.